Good morning and welcome from Silverstone for today's practice session. I hope the crowds streaming in through the gates have brought their umbrellas. Guess what? It's tipping it down here today. And I tell you what, Anthony Davidson, I think we're going to have some fairly anxious drivers in the cars today, as the conditions have not been kind at all for today's session.
Well sat in the garage, maybe, I suppose. I mean, you'd always rather a nice dry circuit to run on. But as soon as you venture out onto the track, then any lingering nerves get left behind. The moment you start to become anxious in these cars, you tend to tighten up and become too digital in your inputs. This can not only cost you lap time, but also, if you're unlucky, send you on a one-way trip to the wall.
Modo sat in P4. So far, we're getting great data. Stay focused. Of fuel remaining. So far, we're getting great data. Stay focused. the end of the program and plenty of useful data.
As all the cars are now over the line, your top three again are a McLaren, Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel. Practice times are on the board there.
Hi, just letting you know that we've had the team's expectations through for the upcoming qualifying session.
Welcome to this afternoon's qualifying session here at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. And as we wait, poised for the start of what will hopefully be a thrilling qualifying, why don't you tell us, Anthony Davidson, about the things you can do to really get the most out of a car in a session like this?
Well, you're largely limited by the Parc Fermé regulations, of course. Back in the old days, pre-2004, you'd work on both a qualifying setup and a race setup over practice, and then swap them over after qualifying. So the race car was quite different at times to the qualifying car. Nowadays, though, you have to find a compromise that works for both. There are a few things that you can still adjust during the session, such as the differential, the brake bias, and the front wing angle, but that's about it. So it's more about optimizing what you do have and adapting your own style to suit the track conditions.
Superb so far. Well done.
So qualifying is complete and we're all set for an exciting race tomorrow. Your top three are a McLaren, Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. It's time to leave for now, but we'll be back tomorrow when the Grand Prix itself gets underway.
Hello. I just wanted to pass on the team's expectations for this race. Good luck.
The pain of parting is nothing to the joy of meeting again. And how joyous indeed it is to be back at Silverstone once more for the British Grand Prix. The queues to get in this morning extended miles back down the A43, such as the enthusiasm for Formula One in this country. Straddling the border of Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire, the 18 corners of the Silverstone circuit form the 3.6-mile beating heart of Formula One. It's been reinvented over the years, with Turn 1 now the fast right-hander of Abbey, along with two DRS zones on the Wellington and Hanger Straights respectively. But the magic of racing is as strong here as it's ever been. With me today is a man who's no stranger to the thrills of Silverstone. He's a past winner here in sports cars, of course. It's our good friend Anthony Davidson. You seem particularly excited for this one, Ant. Is there something you want to tell me?
Oh, just looking forward to it, Crofty. It's always a very special atmosphere, and also I started karting in the late 1980s, and I was here for that epic race in 1986 with Mansell and Piquet fighting each other right here at my home Grand Prix. So coming back to Silverstone always means a lot, and looking at the crowd today, it's clear that none of that spirit has been lost. And also, we just have such a fantastic field this year, some very close competition and conditions that should make for some great racing. I can't wait.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. It's McLaren in pole position then, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Vettel, Fernando Alonso, and Raikkonen, Ricciardo, Ocon, Verstappen, and Sergio Perez, Massa, Hülkenberg, Romain Grosjean, and Palmer, Kvyat, Sainz, Lance Stroll, and Kevin Magnussen. Wehrlein and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Right, let's be patient going into turn 1. We want to be in a good position for the rest of the race. Good luck. That's a strong start. Well done. Approaching the pit window, you'll be on the softs. Approaching the end of the life on these control electronics. Try to stay off the curbs and other rough surfaces. Just a reminder, we are critical on fuel, probably a lap or so short. We don't need to risk a DNF chasing records, so think about going down to mix 1 and lifting early into the corners. The car behind has started to drop back. There's a gap beginning to form. Engine is looking this lap. Go now. That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops. Let's turn the engine down, please. Virtual safety car. Reduce speed immediately and keep a positive delta. VSC ending, we're going green. Maintain positive delta until the green flags. There's 5 laps of fuel remaining. This lap of the race. Keep this up. Of fuel remaining. Yellow flag. Okay, some information on Kvyat. They're retiring from the race. Green flag. The safety car is out. The safety car is out. We need to form up at a reduced pace. Keep a close eye on that delta time. Make sure to keep it positive. The safety car now. Do not pass it. You are the leader. Follow the safety car. laps of fuel remaining. The safety car, you're leading, so don't pass it. Stay behind the safety car. The safety car is coming in this lap. We'll be pacing the field in sector 3. Make sure to respect the delta until the safety car is in the pit lane. just fantastic. You deserved that race win.
A great win then for the McLaren team today. And Anthony Davidson, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. I mean, do you pit for fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
And look at that, they're making their way out onto the podium now. Great race from the McLaren team, and I'm really happy to see them there on the top step of the podium. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. It wasn't the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced. Moving on to the driver of the day then. Anthony Davidson, who would you go for?
Let's give it to Lance Stroll. That was a quality drive from start to finish. He can be proud of that one.
And now let's take a look at the constructors' standings. Mercedes have extended their lead at the top of the standings. Another team that excelled today was Williams, who make further progress up the table. There'll be plenty more twists and turns to come this season. I hope you can join us at the next race to see just who will come out on top.
Hey, quick question. How are you here? Are you happy? I mean, obviously, I hope so, but you do have some other options if you're up for a new challenge. Let me just grab the door. I had a call from another team a few weeks ago, and well, things have moved on since then. These are the offers I've managed to put together for you. You don't have to do anything with them, but let me know what you think.
You know, I love this sport. I love being here in the thick of it. I love the smell of oil and burnt rubber. And that's why I want to be down on the track next time you're sitting in one of my cars. So, I've got two events on the table right now that'd be perfect. But which is more interesting to you? That's the question. From my point of view, there's really no difference to speak of. So it's entirely your call.
Hey, good to see you again. The factory sent over the parts that were looking good on the rig. They're being fitted as we speak. Have a look at the report.
Welcome to Budapest as we prepare for the start of the Hungarian Grand Prix. The teams are just getting their cars ready to go out for today's practice session, so we'll be straight to the action shortly. An opportunity here then for the drivers to learn the track and learn the car, and of course work out all the little kinks that show up when the teams put these cars together at the circuit. Anthony Davidson, this is all very familiar to you of course, so why don't you give us an idea as to what the drivers will be getting up to in these sessions?
I'd say the first responsibility for drivers during free practice is in gathering data for correlation purposes, which allows the engineers to match real-life data against the simulation. Secondly, the driver then needs to dial themselves into a circuit that they may not have driven around for a full year, which is a fact that's often overlooked. And then you finally focus on the details of car setup and the tyre wear. It's critical to have a good relationship with your engineer here so they can make the right adjustments at the right time to the car that ultimately bring out the performance you're looking for.
focused. Of fuel remaining. So far, we're getting great data. Stay focused.
An interesting practice session there then. Let's remind ourselves of the top three. Who...
Hi, it's Emma. Your qualifying goals came up in the board meeting this morning. Here's what to expect.
Good afternoon, race fans, and here we are again for qualifying at the Hungaroring. Who will have tuned the perfect setup for their car? We'll find out soon. And as we count down to that green light, I have to say, Anthony Davidson, that this rain is not showing any signs whatsoever of abating. I imagine we'll be looking at some last-minute setup changes to better adapt these cars to the conditions. What do you think?
The trouble is, Crofty, they need to be thinking about the race tomorrow. You don't want to go jacking up the ride heights and piling on a few points of extra downforce that you're not going to want in the Grand Prix itself. The Parc Fermé regulations mean that you have to make that choice. The best thing the drivers can do is adapt with the tools they have available in the cockpit. Moving the brake bias forward will help stop the rear end slipping out under braking, and opening up the differential can really help tame the oversteer on corner exit. The drivers that can make best use of these techniques will have the best chance for success here today.
Our best lap so far is a 1 minute 35.3. Lap times are faster, you're down on your teammate. Sat in P9.
So qualifying is complete and we're all set for an exciting race tomorrow. Your top three are a McLaren, Vettel and Valtteri Bottas. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
Hi, it's Emma here. Just wanted to let you know what the team are hoping for in the race.
It's always wonderful to come back to the lively Hungaroring. A popular destination this, nice and close to the beautiful city of Budapest, with some exciting racing to boot. Who can forget Michael Schumacher pushing his old teammate Rubens Barrichello up towards the pit wall in 2010, or those great races of 2014 and 2015 as well. Located 12 miles northeast of the Hungarian capital Budapest, the 14 corners of the Hungaroring are steeped in history and prestige. Overtaking has always been difficult on this technical 2.7-mile circuit, but the last few years in particular have turned up some exceptional races. Let's hope we're in for another one here today. With me to enjoy it all is Anthony Davidson, a man who made his Grand Prix debut here with Minardi back in 2002. So, Ant, this is a bit of a special one for you, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'd say so. I also stood in to commentate on Jensen's win in 2006, and as I was a test driver for Honda at the time, you can imagine that was quite an emotional Grand Prix. It's also a tough circuit on the drivers, this one too. Lots of long, slow corners that require a lot of patience from inside the car. Plus, it's a very downforce heavy circuit. I mean, it's all relative of course, but if you're lacking a bit in downforce, or if you've got a bit of an imbalance in the setup, this is definitely one of the worst places to have to deal with that.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Raikkonen, Fernando Alonso and a McLaren, Ricciardo, Verstappen, Perez and Nico Hülkenberg, Grosjean, Ocon, Daniel Kvyat and Magnussen, Sainz, Stroll, Jolyon Palmer and Felipe Massa, Wehrlein and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Excellent job yesterday. We qualified above expectations. Let's go out there and put in a performance. DRS has been enabled. So the gap to our teammate is 4.8 seconds. Exit now. Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now. Settings, we won't have enough fuel for the end of the race. Consider lowering the fuel mix. Fernando has come into the pits. Caution, caution. 0.6 seconds. 10 seconds. This is your final lap of the race. There's only one lap of fuel remaining. Some information on Verstappen. It looks like the problem is terminal. They're retiring the car. Worked hard for that one. Congratulations.
It wasn't always plain sailing today, but a very important win nonetheless. So, Ant, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
Well, I'd say it's just raw pace, plain and simple. I mean, we could sit here and talk about strategy all day, the overtaking, looking after the tyres, but at the end of it all, if you want to win, you need a package that's got the speed over everyone else, and that's exactly what they had today.
And it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. It's a good result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Now then, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
I'm going to go for Sebastian Vettel. People have suggested before that he can't race wheel to wheel, but as he showed today, it's nonsense.
And here's how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. We saw a dip in form from the championship leaders today. Their lead has taken a significant blow. Meanwhile, Toro Rosso's strong weekend allows them to continue their march up the table. There'll be plenty more twists and turns to come this season. I hope you can join us at the next race to see just who will come out on top.
Hey, good to see you again. The factory sent over the parts that were looking good on the rig. They're being fitted as we speak. Have a look at the report.